Hey everyone, we're doing a bit of towing. We're only towing a jet ski, but I'm disappointed. So if you've been watching my videos and you know that I brought a V6 120 that I could possibly use as a tow vehicle, we both might have been misled. Maybe I was misled to think that this was a powerhouse, but it's actually quite lacking in torque, and the numbers do show that when you think about it. It should have been common sense to know that this doesn't maintain speed. You can see slightest hill and it's back to fourth. It really got to work hard, and a slightly bigger hill it's back to third, revving its guts out, where the 1kd diesel just seems to maintain the speed a lot better. But I'll get back to base and we'll have a bit of a chat about what the options are. But it's not one of these, and even maybe a petrol could be a bad decision, because the petrol engine doesn't have the torque that the diesel does either. So I'm starting to think that maybe the 300 series with all the torque is going to be a certainly much better tow vehicle. Not that you can get one of those, not that you can afford one of those, but let's talk about it a bit more in detail when we get back to base. There's one problem this creates in the petrol version that I'm sure we can all agree on. I'm not here to upset the V6 owners. I'm a V6 owner. Just the facts, and it should have been obvious, right? Recent driving in this 120 Prado towing a jet ski that weighs obviously only about half a ton has really learnt me a couple of things. Let's keep a couple of things in mind. And no, that's not me having a twinkle, that's water coming down the pipes. The diesel has got 127 kilowatts of power and 410 newton meters of torque, that's for sure. And if Google gave me the right answers, because I couldn't remember, the 1gr-fe in the 120 Prado has got 176 kilowatts of power, quite a bit more than the 127, but only 361 newton meters of torque. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between power and torque and try and put it in simple terms for you. But try and remember those numbers. This is the diesel, 1kd-ftv. This is the 1gr-fe. Now the later with the dual variable valve timing, blah, 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 a little bit more power, a little bit more torque, but still under these numbers. And of course, that more powerful engine later on was in a bigger, more heavier vehicle, which almost offsets that. Just so we know we're being as fair as possible, the 1gr has definitely got the big advantage here because it's got more road-orientated standard size tyres compared to our diesel. It hasn't got dual batteries. It hasn't got a bull bar. It hasn't got a lot of things. It hasn't got heavy-duty side steps. It hasn't got the underbody protection from KO and all that heavy stuff. It hasn't got any roof rack. There's nothing up on the roof. The roof is clear as day. Inside the back of the vehicle, we're not carrying cages full of camping gear and tables. We haven't got a big storage system and a big fridge and all the extra wires and the cargo barrier and the storage shelf up there and all this sort of stuff that's in the other 120. It's not in this vehicle, which equals this one is much lighter, and it got the advantage on the other heavy 120. Just do fair comparisons. Heavy bull bar, heavier tyres, heavy side steps, right? Light bar, antenna, which all creates wind drag, another antenna, dual batteries, roof rack, solar panel, usually an awning and a shovel on the side, maybe some other stuff. Your weight, the table, the cage, all the gear in the back of the door, the storage system, some stuff in the drawer, some stuff in the fridge, containers of water, jerry cans of water, one there, I think there's one there, might be another one in there, right? See that one, it's full up to bloody 3/4, this one. So that one's full to the top, right? So it's carrying 40 kilos of water, storage shelf, cargo barriers. There's a lot of extra weight in this vehicle. Did I mention the roof rack? Did I mention the K-on underbody protection? Well, do we go and have a quick look at it, right? Heavy duty side steps, heavy steel fuel tank protection, heavy underbody protection at the front also, right? Up underneath the front of that vehicle. Hanging off the back, whatever. Have I made my picture clear? This vehicle is heavy. It's got a lot of gear inside. I could go inside the car, more stuff inside the car. But this thing's going to weigh hundreds of kilos, probably 4 or 5, probably half a ton heavier than the other vehicle if you weighed it up, especially when you include the simple fact that the diesel engine with the cast iron block and all the other gear bolted onto it is definitely heavier by, I'm going to take a guess, it's probably going to be 50 kilos heavier in this engine bay stock standard than a V6 alloy 120 Prado, right? So now that we've got the facts out there, this vehicle's disadvantage. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my towing experience comparing this vehicle. Very light, very stock standard 1gr V6 with, it's in quite good condition. It's got new platinum spark plugs. It's got a K&N filter in there. It's going to be running in peak performance, right? Everything's beautiful. More work to do yet. Stay tuned. You're going to learn a lot of stuff. I'm not trying to tell you this is better or worse. My position on these hasn't changed, but now, well, owning one, I'm better positioned to share my experiences with you because there's more of them and there's going to be more of them. I had a plan of setting this up. This was meant to be, oh, this is going to be the tow vehicle, you know, because it was starting to look like I couldn't get anything else. Don't worry, but then this happened as well. But that's another story, and that's in other videos. Subscribe, turn the bell on. Too many cars, too many stories to tell. But I'm not going around just testing cars for 10 minutes or half an hour or a few hours or a day and giving you a review. I'm owning the vehicles, using them. And it's not like you can go buy a new 120 diesel or V6 or whatever, and it doesn't bother me what you do. I'm just trying to share some info. So if you're interested, you can hopefully make a better decision. This is going to use a lot more fuel than that one over there, even though it's heavier. Now, you can drive this very economically, and I can put a post up and say, hey, I got 11 litres per 100 Ks. Maybe it's possible. I could probably pull that one off. But that's not what you're going to get every day. Same as in that one. I could take some of the weight off it and drive around and go, hey, I got 8 litres per 100 kilometres. It's just not going to happen, right? Unless I really try. That's going to be a slowest, most gentle driving at 80 Ks an hour, you know, like it's doable, but it's not going to happen. Now let's talk about the towing experience. I've towed the jet ski and many other jet skis. I heard other jet skis before with that other diesel over there, and I've towed it with this also. And this is what I'm going to tell you. It's just chalk and cheese. Remember these numbers. They're going to tell you a story because that's the story right there. That is the story. I actually do want to get a driver that can drive like me and line them up side by side, put the windows down, start the camera and say, you're ready, set, go. And just do that about 5 times to be fair. But there's not going to be a lot of difference in 0 to 60 or 0 to 80 or 0 to 100. But I think the 1gr will be in front. It bloody want to be because all this talk about the big mighty V6 and it's so advantaged, it'd want to be quicker at the 0 to 100. But I can tell you one thing, even though this thing's hauling an extra half a ton of weight, and with the jet ski, maintaining speed up hills when towing, this thing does it heaps easier. So it does it better, it does it easier. It's going to use less fuel. I've done it, I know 100%, and it's really obvious. Let me explain it to you like this. The 0 to 60, the 0 to 80, or the 0 to 100, that's your kilowatts of power, okay? So when you're as light as possible and you want to get up to speed, increase speed as fast as possible, that's your power. That's where power matters, right? And that's where this big beast over here has got all the kilowatts. So acceleration is going to be king, but it's also going to lose in the maintaining. Yep, guess what? I've got one. I own one, Nissan Petrol, and I'm about to tell you that the 300 series will absolutely hammer it when it comes to maintaining speed, because it's all about the torque. Now remember, petrol engine power, it's acceleration. I'm just trying to put it in simple terms. So when you look at the power number, this has only got 127 kilowatts of power. And don't get me wrong, it goes all right. I reckon I could probably pull off a 0 to 100 in about, what, 12 seconds? Or is it 14? Somewhere around there. You're not going to get a 10-second job, but maybe with the tailwind and downhill on an on-ramp. But it feels like about 10 seconds, but it's probably 12. We could test it out sometime. I probably will line them up, so subscribe, turn the bell on. Let's see what happens. This one, not just because it's nice and light and it's not modified, this one's got more power. What was it, 176 or something? 160 plus GST? From memory, it was about 176 kilowatts of power. It's more power. It's going to rev. It makes the power. It's going to increase speed better. So the acceleration up to a certain point is just going to be, it should really absolutely hammer the other vehicle. But I'm going to tell you, if we put them on the ground side by side and take off at the lights, or, you know, it's clear roads, private property, whatever it's going to be, we're just going to say, all right, let's go, whatever. And we take off, and I'll have the camera there, and I'll have this one. So let's say I have this one on the on the left-hand side. You'll be able to look in the side of the camera when this car starts pulling up in front. You're not going to see much. You're only going to see a couple of car spaces maybe. I'd be surprised if it was more than that by the time you reach 100. So, but the fuel bill is going to be double. Okay, so let's be clear about that. This is going to chew the fuel trying to get performance. And that's fine because it is going to be the performer in acceleration at those lower speeds, 0 to whatever, running light, power. Get the picture? That's power. That's your kilowatts. That's your horsepower. Now let's talk about torque. I'm not talking about the torque I'm talking about. I'm just talking torque here because I'm torque. So we were 127 kilowatts over on the 120 diesel, 410 newton meters of torque. This 171 kilowatts of power. So as you can see, big difference, which is why I say the V6, which I should have written V6 here. Anyway, but let's look at the torque. 410 versus only 361. 361 is bugger all torque. And I'll tell you, there was a lot of torque going on when I was towing the same jet ski with a much lighter 120 Prado up the same hills, and it was losing speed rapidly. And I tried different things. I tried getting into it in advance, getting a run down the hills and maintaining the speed up. I take note of where my other vehicles, where the torque converter unlocks. You start going up a hill. At what point does the torque converter unlock in fifth? At what point does it kick back to fourth? This thing, the torque converter unlocked earlier. The speed's dropping still. Then it kicks back to fourth. It's really revving getting into it. Give me a little bit bigger hill. Whoa, back to third, 4,000 RPM and some more and whatever, and it's really roaring. And I guarantee you, with this engine running like that up those hills with little jet ski on the back, it's going to be using 20 to 25 litres per 100 Ks at that point in time. Now, doesn't mean you can't get 12 or 13 or 14. Our first fill on this one was 13.75 litres per 100 Ks, in case you missed it and you're still hanging around on this one. All the info is going to come out. I don't own Toyota. I've got no vested interest on whether you own this engine or the diesel or the petrol or the 300 series. As you noticed, if you're watching the videos on both YouTube channels, 4x4 Diesel and 4x4 Adventures, I know someone that's got a 300. I reckon we're going to get it here in the workshop on this horse pretty soon, hopefully, so we can have a look under it and do a comparison to what we just did with that one. It's got 35 Ks on it. It's done hardly any work, right? We're about to take it out for a burl now and see how it goes, right? Running in procedures. So my point is torque. Okay, so torque is kind of like, this is torque, see? I'm pushing with my thumb. It's kind of like, how do I explain it? It's push pressure. So it's not power, it's not acceleration. So your torque doesn't give you, it's all sort of combined, but your torque doesn't give you your acceleration. It keeps you there, right? So this one, whoa, excuse me, get you there, and then go back to fifth gear, converter lock, losing speed again because it's a slight uphill. And I'm talking about towing a 1/2 ton jet ski. If I was towing a 2.5 ton caravan, I'd be bleeding because A, I'm going to lose a heap of speed. I'm going to have to put the foot down. It's going to use a lot more fuel to maintain that speed. So my original idea of this being a tow vehicle, and I've put that suspension in, it's nice and firm, handles great for a tow vehicle, and I'm still doing work on it, but my whole plan has just changed now. Not just because I got that, yes, that idea and that came along afterwards, but because what I've just found out confirming on this just today driving it, it's annoying the way it hasn't got the torque to maintain the speed. Yes, you're probably thinking a supercharger will solve that problem, and you're probably right, and that could happen, so stay tuned, you never know. But at the moment, what's going to happen with this is going to stay light. It might become my replacement off-roader for the local tracks around here in the high country camping, if my daughter does take that other beautiful 120 over there. As has been discussed, we'll just see how it goes. That's why there's a bit of a car collection going on. If you're watching the videos, you probably get it by now. But this certainly won't be towing anything massive. It might take the jet ski a couple of times here or there. But then again, the 120, it's just a pleasure to drive once you get to speed. Even with the jet ski, up and down the highways, all the places we go, I've never really, even with the camper trailer, I had a camper trailer, was it 1.2, 1.4 ton? It maintained the speed beautifully. I feel that this does it much harder, even though the vehicle's a lot lighter. Fact of the matter, end of story. Towing with that V6 over there, it'd be like maintaining speed with the old 1kz diesel, which is another engine I liked. I've owned a couple of them. I've towed the same camper trailer and stuff like that. Slower to get there than the V6, slower to get there than this, because they're only about, I forget, but what, about 100 kilowatts of power? And they've only got about the 350, 360 Newton meters of torque like the V6. So maintaining the speed's about the same. You come to a hill. What you haven't got in the 1kz though, you can't put the foot down, floor it and rev it and get a little bit more out of it because it's got the extra power, which is what the V6 has got. I hope you're getting my drift. I'm trying to give you an education on power and torque And we'll get to the petrol and the 300 series probably in another video. But what I'm trying to say is the petrol's going to get there. It's going to have, because it's a big engine, it's going to have a bit of torque there and be enough to maintain. But even though the 300 series V6 twin turbo or the V8 200 series, even though they've got less power, they've both got more torque. Whichever one's got more torque wins, because as I try to explain, the torque is how much pressure pushing. So the power gets it there, and then the torque's what it's got to push to keep it there. So you've got the headwind and you've got the hills pushing you this way. That's your speedo dial, right? And then the torque's pushing you back that way. So the torque, the more torque you've got, the easier the engine will maintain the speed when it versus wind resistance or hills or weight or whatever the concern might be. Give an example. I had some FG XR6 Falcons, XR6 Turbos, XR8s. I've had a lot of cars, people, got a lot of experience, not just working on them, owning them, using them. My XR6 Turbo ute, on the direct comparison to an XR6 non-turbo ute I had, got better fuel economy. Now, don't get me wrong, if I was hooning around on a racetrack and giving it to it, the turbo would certainly use more fuel because it's got the capability to use more fuel. But if I drove up the highway, say Melbourne to Ballarat or Bendigo or out to wherever, right? Doesn't matter where, highway run, the XR6 ute without the turbo might get 8 or 9 litres per 100 k's on a cruisy highway run, 100, 110, whatever. I'm just giving ballpark numbers. Take off 1 litre to 1.5 litres per 100 with the turbo, because if our memory serves me correctly, 550 newton meters of torque with the turbo. It might be 600, I don't know. I think 650 is the 200 series. So there's lots of numbers to remember. 200 series V8, 4.5 litre twin turbo. That's your 650 newton meters. The Barra engine, yeah, with a turbo. I reckon it was 550 newton, but that's a lot of torque for really a sedan vehicle, quite light. And it used to do it so easy. I saw figures like 7.6 litres per 100 k's at 110. There you go. I've got a pretty good memory, see? I'm not losing it yet. Anyway, my point is torque. This is the torquey machine here. So if I want to toast something, this is what because it just does it easier. It might take me a bit longer to get there, right? But this certainly maintains speed, better towing than the V6 does. Case closed, end of story. There's no arguments, there's no ifs, no buts, no maybes. It's just what it is. And that's what I wanted to say. And therefore, this does it easier. That's probably why the diesel, it makes more torque, it's got the turbo, and it does it easier, so it uses less fuel. In closing, I just want to say the petrol and the diesel, I could probably, if these were both stock standard, drive them both around and get about the same economy unloaded, cruising around at 80, 90 Ks economy runs. But as soon as you add the weight to the vehicle, the modifications, as soon as you add the towing, the extra work, the V6 cracks and the fuel bill doubles, okay? That's how it works with petrols and diesels, in case you didn't know. And bada bing, I've talked enough. Catch you in the next video. Hope you liked it. Subscribe, turn the bell on, and you know where the like button's at. Talk to you later. See ya.